All right, everyone, we're talking with Dr. Andrew White today, who has a really interesting program where he's getting chiropractors into companies around the country. So if you've ever driven past that large company on your way to your practice and thought, man, I'd love to serve inside of that business. We're talking large, hundreds and hundreds of employee size companies. This is a podcast you're going to find interesting. Today, our sponsor is Genesis from Clinic Mind. Genesis is an EHR software for chiropractors. They've been a longtime sponsor of the show. They handle everything. We use them inside of our clinics. They're cloud-based, which we love. They handle the insurance billing, which we don't do a lot of. It works great with cash in our cash practice system, the macros, the support. They've been partners of ours for over a decade. So if you'd like more information, look them up, Genesis through Clinic Mind. Let's get going on the program today.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the UAC Best Practices Podcast. Our hope is that you get to hear from some of our amazing UAC members, some really highly successful docs out there in the field doing great things. You can learn a little something that you can apply to your practice. Here with my co-host, Dr. Alan Miner, who's going to introduce our guest today.
Everyone, welcome in. And we have with us Dr. Andrew White, who's been around UAC for a couple of years now, maybe not quite that. But Andrew, when you came in, you were starting, it was more than an idea, but I'd say it wasn't to where it's progressed now with you creating this business around corporate wellness. You're out of Michigan, close to Grand Rapids. You have a practice there that you still own, but you're not practicing in there anymore. I think more of your time is going over to this. So I think that's the best practice we can talk about is a chiropractor who wants to get into corporate wellness. They want to grow their patient base by, talking to companies, bringing chiropractic to company employees. You're the expert in that. Tell us a little bit about how you got to this place and what you do. But, more importantly, as Brian alluded to, we want to get a couple nuggets that the average practicing practitioner can use from what you've learned to emulate this.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, guys. So, I live in Holland, Michigan, which is right by Grand Rapids in West Michigan. And I started a company called Align & Co. about 5 years ago. We created some software to help businesses see the ROI or return on investment for bringing chiropractic in as a benefit for their employees.
Yep.
And then we pay chiropractors to adjust employees of local businesses. So I always say if a chiropractor is driven past the business at some point and said to themselves, that business should pay me to adjust their team because I can insert value proposition, right? Improve absenteeism, improve the general health, etc. We are the folks that are experts in that as far as how to negotiate those contracts, how to tell that story to an employer. So we have a network that we created called the Align Well Certified Chiropractor Program, which is a network that chiropractors can apply to join. If they're approved, then we're essentially 100% commission-based salespeople that create products that the chiropractors are a part of. And then put simply, we're not a coaching group. We're not we're not trying to charge chiropractors a bunch of money. We make our money when we sell products to businesses and then pay the chiropractors to adjust. And so, that's the 10,000 foot view of what we do. Why I started the company is because my mom is an opiate addict from a workplace injury. So that's why I'm passionate about improving access to chiropractic for Americans. And so I was excited to share. I mean, patient acquisition is obviously one of the sexiest topics in chiropractic. Everybody wants more new patients. And I feel like one of the sexiest of the sexy topics in patient acquisition is corporate wellness.
So Andrew, what I hear is we talk about a complexity arc a lot. You started with, you're on the far end of the complexity arc, and I want to get back there, but go all the way back to, you touched on it. A lot of chiropractors think, I'd love to be inside of that company.
Yep.
Where'd you start? When you got this going, there had to have been some trial error. How did this begin early on? And then kind of what were the early steps in it evolving? Not where it is now, but when you were getting this going for yourself. And then maybe how'd you go from yourself to starting to do this for a couple other chiropractors?
Yeah. So I think that the biggest mistake most chiropractors make when approaching corporate wellness is that they are very focused on the value that the relationship will bring to them, meaning their own practice, right? It's an obvious win for them. It's a funnel of new patients, which is going to mean more revenue and hopefully impact for that chiropractor. However, many of them, including myself early on, they would make a bunch of assertions that were not backed up by any evidence or not very much evidence. So, for instance, chiropractors would say things like, well, if you hire me, like if I'm talking to you, the business, if you hire me to, treat your people, then I can help you with your productivity and your absenteeism and save you money on your healthcare costs. Technically, those are all true statements. However, what I would say is that most chiropractors are very naive to the complexities that exist to actually measuring that and proving it out in data. And then on top of that, most chiropractors are very unaware of the complexities that exist with how money flows in and out of different benefits packages and even just the types of benefits that are offered in the United States. We have an incredibly complex insurance system. And so there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat for a company to offer benefits. And so I would say that if a chiropractor is interested, I would start by first trying to be more empathetic with the person you're trying to sell to. Try to ask more questions. If you get an opportunity to talk to an HR person or a CEO, don't spend as much time talking about you, because again, you're not a great book is Donald Miller, Story Brand, Building a Story Brand. The idea that, most of us put ourselves as the hero of our own stories. And so in sales, we should focus ourselves more being the guide as opposed to the hero. And so again, if you're coming in saying all these things that you're amazing at and how your practice is amazing and what it can do for all these people because you're so amazing, that positions yourself as the hero, and it comes off very arrogant. And again, in a worst case, it can come across very amateur, because if the HR professional is worth their salt, they're probably going to ask some questions, or not even maybe ask questions, but expect you to say certain things and use their language, which would show a level of just knowledge in the space. And if you're not using that language, you're going to come across very amateur like. So instead, I would focus more of my time asking a lot of questions. So, for instance, asking an HR professional about, tell me about, do you currently offer any type of health and wellness programs? If so, how's it going? How is engagement going? What do you feel like some of the biggest issues right now in your world when it comes to employee health and wellness? Just try to listen and spend more time understanding the customer before you try to pitch yourself to them. Because if you're a good listener, then you will be able to do a good job of inserting yourself as an obvious solution. But the first step is just getting a better understanding of who you're trying to sell to, which I think a lot of chiropractors don't spend enough time doing when they get into this space.
So I like that you used story brand, the analogy there, because you don't, it's about helping them see themselves as the hero, right?
Right.
So, so you ask a lot of questions.
Yep.
And I would assume you got your quivers, right? Your arrows in the quiver. What do you say at some point? First of all, you've asked the right questions.
Yes.
Right. Secondly, okay, how do you make them see that you can help them or guide them to be the hero of their HR/corporate wellness program in there?
Yeah. So I
How do you
think,
do that?
yeah, one of the biggest advantages that I always say in our sales pitches that chiropractors have over every other medical profession in the United States is what we call proximate leadership, which is the idea that when you get proximate or close to people, you recognize the complexities that are in the way of them reaching their health goals. And let's say I own a large manufacturing company and I bring in a medical doctor for an on-site clinic, and it's free for every employee to go to. Even if it's free, there's not really a reason to engage with the doctor outside of a physical, or if I have some sort of active complaint, right? If I'm an employee, like, why would I talk to Dr. John if I just talked to him last week? But most Americans are very used to and understand, even if they haven't gone to the chiropractor, that once you start going, you go regularly. And so that proximate leadership we get with the interaction, building rapport with the employees, building trust with those employees, can lend to behavior modification. Every chiropractor knows this. We talk about the 3 T's and like educating patients over time.
Mhm.
And so most HR professionals are trying to figure out how to drive engagement and keep their employees engaged and educate them. And so they're investing in lots of tools and apps and services to do that. But again, our biggest advantage is, I always say in our sales pitches, that an adjustment is an invitation to a relationship. So the low hanging fruit that every chiropractor knows is that we can help with back pain and musculoskeletal issues, which are in the top 5 of spend for most of the employers that we work with. So it's a big pain point financially. But again, we can solve an even bigger issue for them, which is how do you get ahead of metabolic disease and general wellness, where it takes engagement and trust. And in order to build trust, it first starts with a relationship. And then again, the relationship is preceded by a reason to engage. And so again, being able to have that table talk on a regular basis is, and then, so I would then ask, after asking questions, my point is, I would help the HR professional understand what that is, like what that chiropractic journey is, how we work with people, build trust with people, engage and educate them.
Did you make that mistake early on? Did you go in talking about yourself? Is that
100%.
it?
Yeah.
It, yeah, I'd imagine it's a very different world than talking to a patient one-on-one, talking to an HR person who
Yes.
is an employee whose job is to oversee other employees and benefits and bring value to working there. So I like what you said about really understanding your data. Did you have data when you started out on this, or is that something you
Yeah,
backed
like,
into as well?
yeah, like a lot of chiropractors, I had some old studies that I had found online. Like there's a very popular one that gets referenced a lot, at least in the circles I would see, with like Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois that had done a study on corporate wellness. But I did not have much. And that's again, my point is there wasn't, I struggled a lot early on where when my initial customers that I got to bite, they were the hardest because they just had to take a leap of faith on me because I didn't have a ton of evidence to back up the assertions I was making, other than the evidence that I was gathering in my own clinic. And that's again why I started with, actually hired a patient who was a software engineer of a company locally to moonlight with me on the side to create our first software, because I knew that if we were going to make this scalable, we needed to be able to tell this story from, I mean, again, we can there's a lot of soft savings you can spend, right? Like employee engagement, health and wellness, getting employees feeling better. Those are all what I'll call soft savings. Like they're real, but they don't really affect the bottom line a ton, or it's harder to at least track directly that bottom line. However, tracking the claims data and then helping them to see what are called like cost containment studies, those are things that really do drive meaningful dollar change. And that's why I focused on that early on.
I used to call it presenteeism when I was in practice and talked to corporate people. That idea that it probably costs you more when they're sick and show up and are totally
Correct.
unproductive than when they just call in sick. And but
Correct.
it was hard to quantify that back then.
Exactly.
Do you? So now let's bring it back up to current chiropractic. Because you have this system built, you are the ones that do the selling. You connect
Yes.
into the company, and what you need are chiropractors to go carry out the services that you've sold. Explain that a little more in depth. A couple things come to mind. Do they have to be in the network of the provider? Is it cash based or not? Does the chiropractor have to go to the facility, and what's the frequency, or do people come in there? And how long do these relationships tend to go? I mean, can one chiropractor really only, you get a big company. I'm in McKinney, you got Raytheon and the PGA and Frito-Lay. I can't imagine, I'd imagine one chiropractor can maybe only handle one big company. So those are some of the things I've heard you get questions on. How touch on those points?
Yeah. So the I use the term network for the Align Well Certified Chiropractic Program because it's the most appropriate term, but we're not an insurance company. That's a common question we get asked. So you could be a cash-based practice or accept medical insurance and work with us. That doesn't really matter. We just have criteria that an office has to meet in order for them to work with us. And if they meet those criteria, then we sell products. Basically, again, there's a very small fee up front when we're doing the due diligence just to check your malpractice and state license and a bunch of other steps. But once you're a network, it's free. And then we sell products. We get paid when we sell the products. Companies pay us, we pay you. So it'll feel like insurance to some degree because you'll deliver a service, get paid later, but it's all cash based. The companies are paying us and then we are paying you. And then I spend a lot of my time now designing products for our network. So at this point, we've had over 300 clinics across the country apply to work with us. And now I create partnerships with different organizations in the benefit space, basically shopping our network. So again, the power of joining our network is you're not a part of one product alone. You're technically a part of multiple, and we're constantly looking for more ways to diversify our offerings because there are different, obviously there's lots of different types of businesses, and so there's different types of entity structures from a legal perspective, and then that lends to different benefit structures. So we customize our products based on the customer we're coming into as far as how to give them the most ROI. We have some tax advantage plans we launched this year, which allow some employers to use tax dollars to pay for some of this stuff. But again, we do a lot of due diligence on the sales process to figure out what's the best product. And so my point is, we are constantly looking for ways to shop our network to create more products, get bundled in more products that will do the same thing at the end of the day, which is subsidize care for the employees. And then we either we'll do on-site contracts. So getting to one of your other questions is, my first 5 years in business, it was all on site. In fact, I'm recording this from an employer in Michigan right now that I'm covering a doctor for. So we do on site care where the doctors will go on site either weekly or bi-monthly. But right now, we're also focused on what are called near-site contracts, which would mean we send the employees to you. So we create a direct relationship between an employer and your office. We negotiate with the employer that they will subsidize a portion of the employee's care. And then when they come in, we'd encourage you to treat them like any other lead, close them for the care they need. That's just a free care. And then it becomes another line item on your care plan where it's almost like an insurance line where it's covered at 100%. And then you would charge your other services at whatever fee schedule you use. So again, it can be done either near site or on site. If we do on site, one other thing that we do is mobile x-ray. So that was something we launched a couple of years ago where we actually come on site to do biometric screenings and x-rays and everything on site ourselves, my own team. But again, right now, nationally, we're focused on near site contracts. But if I'm a chiropractor listening and going back 20 years, because I want to make sure this is valuable for everybody. Yes, I would say that if you're a single doctor in practice, I don't know if I would approach corporate wellness unless it was something you really wanted to be like your main focus, because it could become very distracting. And it could become a big time suck unless it was a big thing you wanted to do. Like if you were wanting to make that a big part of your practice, and it can become very profitable and sustainable. But where I've seen this work the best is where you've got at least one associate, because then it becomes a way to subsidize the cost of your employee when there's times that they're not, generating revenue. It's a great way to help them to generate more revenue. It also becomes an annuity in a way, because every chiropractic practice has the issue of, they only get paid when patients are coming in. Even if you're putting them on wellness plans, you still have to bank on them making their payment every month and, continually coming into your practice. For these corporate relationships, we usually secure contracts that are, at least a couple of years in length. And so, every month you've got this annuity, you're going to get this money coming in, and it becomes a nice, again, extra vertical for patient acquisition and revenue. So when it works great. But again, I've seen it work best in multi-doc clinics. And again, if I was approaching this, then I would just, again, spend some time before you even go sell, reflecting on what you're hoping to get out of this relationship. And, what is an ideal world? Do you just want the patients to come to you? Or are you willing to come to them? It just changes the conversation once you get in front of the HR professional.
I got a question for you too. Just thinking about when I was back in practice, I was in Princeton, New Jersey, and I used to go to corporate talks, not even thinking to the level you're, but at Dow Jones alone, that's just one of the companies there, right? I used to drive in there and it was like its own city, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many employees. So you got a place like that, which obviously you want to build a relationship with, but I would never have been able to handle all the patients that could possibly come from there. Do you ever contract and have multiple near site locations? That's question number one. Number two, is there any kind of programs that you have that can apply to the practice themselves for the benefits of their staff, their employees?
Good question. So we talk about we have courses that our doctors get access to, and one of them is called our lead acquisition course, which is my first half dozen customers came from my own practice. So patients that I knew and then I generated these relationships with. And so we train chiropractors to recognize what good leads look like. And so in that course, we talk about what I call the big fish fallacy, which is that a lot of times when I initially talk to a provider who's joined our network, they'll commonly think of a massive company in their town. Like, oh, Amazon just opened a new thing in my town. They've got 4,000 employees. This would be perfect for them. And then I'll usually say, like, I love the ambition. However, even if I could get them to bite on that, could you handle 4,000 new patients?
Right.
So honestly, the best fits for most of our products are what I would call mid-sized employers. So they're going to be family founder-owned companies, between 30 employees to 500. In most towns, United States, there's multiple businesses that fit that niche. And so they're the ones that are also the most agile. So they're willing to make a decision quickly, and also is more sustainable for a practice. So again, could we do like a really big shop? Yes, like a big company, but then we would likely have to get multiple clinics involved. So what we've seen work the best typically is we go after mid-sized employers. They're not big cruise ships. They're more agile. You can get the decision maker faster. They can close faster. And then it's also sustainable for the clinic. And then the second question you had asked is, we had, when we launched the first this year, a tax advantage plan. There's an opportunity that if a clinic has at least 5 employees outside of the owner, then we can set up that tax advantage plan for a clinic. And then if we do that, then we can save the clinic some money in taxes. Then we can also pay them to adjust their own team, because the plan sponsors 2 visits a month. And it's all paid for through tax dollars. And so it's a really cool progressive technique that like it's becoming very popular in the benefit space, but we just got ourselves bundled into one of those plans. And so again, there's 2 visits that
What
are
is
paid.
that? What is that? What's the math on that for practice with 5 employees?
So that would save, if they were to offer the benefit, we're one of 3 health vendors. So there's a telemed vendor, an RX vendor, and us. So your employees would get free telemedicine for themselves and their family, an RX card if they have a script that's written for them. It's got like 1,100 scripts on it that they can get for free. And then the 2 adjustments a month. Likely you're adjusting your staff for free today. So the only difference for them would be that 2 of their visits are now getting paid for, actually by us. And then we would pay the clinic $60 a month to adjust their own staff. And then they would get an additional $55 in tax savings per person. So, so in that 5-person employer, we would save them $1,373, or we would add that to their net income per year per person. So we would add just over $6,000 to their net income just to offer the benefit. When we pay clinics to adjust employees of local businesses, we pay a bit more. Most of the time it's closer to like $40 an adjustment. But yeah, anyways, that's how that one works. Again, we're a vendor in the plan. So for clinics that are interested, I'm not the sales guy. So I just connect them to the brokers who I worked with to underwrite it, and they run free quotes. But that is it. I would say that that's like a cherry on top of what we do.
Right.
Because if you're a good fit, like I offer it in my own clinic, and it's an awesome benefit for my own businesses. But again, it's a cherry on top. My main focus is helping to get these contracts in local businesses.
Awesome.
Andrew, last thing, we got to wrap it up.
Yes.
UAC, what's been the benefit for you being a part of that group?
UAC's been an awesome group. I joined just over a year ago, and it's been great. I would say, as far as the biggest benefit, it's just a great community of people that I can bounce ideas off of, questions off of. I've been a part of myself when I was in practice, different like coaching groups in the past, and then I've also been sponsors now through Align & Co. For different coaching groups. But I would say that the thing I really appreciate about UAC is that it's kind of all walks of life. So it's not that it's only one coaching group. And so then I end up meeting really fascinating people in the profession, some that are a part of different groups, some that run groups, some that run businesses. Like obviously, Brian and I became friends, and obviously, you with Genesis, and then Alan, you with Cal Matchmakers. And so it's been awesome to meet also some of the folks that run some of the really successful businesses inside of our ecosystem of chiropractic, and just hear what you guys are working on, like things that are going on. And so for me, it's been a great sounding board and community to just keep up to date with what's going on and talk to some of the like brightest and sharpest folks in the profession that are working hard in their own little worlds. And then also it's been fun to collaborate with individuals inside of the group, that again, like it's just been natural synergies. Like we're now doing some stuff with like cash practice. I met Miles through UAC. And again, so it's been great to meet some other folks that we've been able to just see some natural synergies with. But also, again, it's just been a great community of, I mean, everyone's been very welcoming, and it's been good to see, because our profession, I feel like, eats their own young too much. So it's just been nice that I can walk into a room and feel like everybody's pretty kind and open.
Awesome, Andrew. Well, you fit that avatar quite well, as somebody who built a successful practice and is now moving on to build something even bigger where you're serving more people. So good work. Keep it going, man. And if people want to learn more about you, it's Align & Co. What's your website?
Yeah, so because obviously this is for Cairo, so alignwealthcertified.com is the best way to learn more about us. It's the landing page to learn more about our network. Again, it's essentially free to join. And so again, if you're interested in corporate wellness, we'd love to help support you to get some contracts. And either way, again, my socials are always just Dr. Andrew White. But again, if there's anything I can do to support you, if you have questions, be happy just to be a resource for you as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Doc. We appreciate you.
Appreciate it, man. Great to see you.
Yeah, of course.
See you soon. Okay.